This is the Sony ZV-E10, and in my opinion, this is hands down the best beginner content creation camera money can buy. And even today, in 2024, I would still recommend this without a doubt, in a heartbeat, to anybody who asks me the question, which camera should I upgrade to from my smartphone? Or which camera should I get for content creation? Now, mind you, I said beginner content creation camera, so this is purely for people who are taking that next step up in their content creation, want to take it up from using maybe their smartphone or an old DSLR or something like that and get a camera that's made for content creation. Something that's slightly bit better, that gives them better options for video, photo, just overall something that they can use for any and all of their content creation, including vlogging, talking head videos, product videos, whatever it is they want to do. This is the camera that I would recommend in a heartbeat. Now, before I get into that, listen carefully to that music you're hearing in that background. Can you hear it? Can you hear it? That music and any sound effects and any music you hear in any of my content and my videos are all from Artlist. Because finding the right music and assets for your video can be such a challenge. And that's why I use Artlist for all of my content. They have a massive library of royalty-free music, sound effects, templates, and even stock footage. Seriously, it saved me so many hours of time and so much headache. It's so easy to find exactly the type of music and assets that fit your video, and you can even have AI suggest the best bit for you. Plus, Artlist Max Pro gives you access to their entire library and collections. And this is absolutely amazing for any content creator because you've got everything all in one place. So if you're tired of struggling to find the right assets and music for your videos, then click the link in the description below, head over to artlist.io and get 2 months extra free when you sign up for any annual plan. Join now and elevate your content to the next level. Now back to the video about this little guy. Yes, this is the ZV-E10, and there are a number of reasons why I say I would recommend this, and it all comes down to the features that this thing has. But firstly, look how small this thing is. It's quite nice, small and compact, which makes it perfect for content creation because you can take this anywhere with you. It doesn't add a lot of bulk. Obviously right now I've actually got a little cage on it, as you can see, and that basically does add a little bit of bulk, but that's because I like my cameras a little bit more bulky. I generally tend to have a cage on my cameras, and I also have the A7S III as my main camera, which is slightly larger than this, so this gives me a bit more of a grip on the camera when I'm using it, and I find it easier to use because I've got slightly larger hands. This is an overall small package, and it's pretty light, meaning that you can chuck it in your bag and use it for all of your content creation needs. Next up, it's very easy to use. If you look at the top here, look how simple this is. Now, this is obviously a couple of years old now, and we've got the new ZV-E10, which is the full frame version of this, which has the same sensor as the Sony A7S III, but that still has the similar kind of ergonomics to this camera right here, meaning that it's got that really simple kind of button interface that you'd call it, both on the back and the top, and that makes it very straightforward to understand and use because all you have to do is toggle between the 3 preset modes this thing has, which is photo mode, video mode, and S&Q mode. S&Q mode is slow and quick mode, which either lets you do time lapses or really high frame rate footage like 120 FPS. So that means that whichever mode you go into, you can preset those modes, leave it like that, and then just switch between them and use them as you need. Now, I would predominantly recommend this for people who are looking for a camera mainly to do video with. There are better cameras for photography out there, or better beginner cameras for photography out there. So if it's photography you're looking for, then yes, you can still get this and it will do a fantastic job. But I think there are better cameras out there that will teach you the ins and outs of photography a little bit better than this one will. However, for video, I think this one is the best one to get because it's just so easy to use. Now, these features can also be used for photo mode, so yes, like I said, it is still a good camera for photography, but it's just better for video. So what are these modes that I keep talking about? I'm blabbing on and on about them, so let's get to it. So number one is the background defocus mode. Here's an example of what that looks like, and basically what it is by hitting this button at the top here, this button right here at the top. Yeah, by hitting that, what you can do is you can turn on background defocus mode, which means that no matter what lens you're using, hitting that background defocus mode will add a background blur to your videos. Now that's fantastic, especially if you're doing talking head videos like this, because what that allows you to do is, well, like I said before, add a background blur to your videos without worrying about having a low aperture lens or having a lens that gives you that really shallow depth of field and bokeh. And that adds that really nice little look to your videos that kind of everybody wants. Everybody wants that video where you're in focus and your background is defocused, because it just looks nicer. It looks more, dare I say, cinematic. So that's number one. That's the first feature that makes this camera good for. So number two is a mode called product showcase mode. And what that basically does is, again, there's a shortcut for it here. By default, if you press this button down there or from the menus, select product showcase mode, what that allows you to do is that allows you to instantly turn the camera into kind of like a product showcase camera. So if you're filming a talking head video and you hold up a product in front of you, instead of relying solely on the kind of autofocus to focus on the product, like I've been kind of doing here with the Sony a7S III, which does a really good job of it anyway. But with this camera, again, no matter what lens you're using, the product showcase mode will allow you to instantly focus on a product if you hold it up in front of you. It will just recognize that there's a product in front, there is something else apart from a face in front, and it will kind of lock focus onto that product, just like you're seeing here in this B-roll segment that's appeared on the screen. And that's super handy for creators who do a lot of product reviews like I do. So for somebody like me, if I was starting off, having this camera would be an absolute dream, because I'd be able to kind of showcase all of the products that I'm doing, and it just makes that process a lot easier. You don't have to worry so much about focusing and all of that. You can just hit record, carry on, and just be kind of confident that the camera is going to do all the work for you when you're showcasing the products, and you're not going to kind of miss the focus on that. So that's number two. Now, number three is a feature that a lot of people like, some people might not like, but I like to count it as one of the kind of key features that this camera has, and that's basically the soft skin mode. What that basically does is like your smartphones have, it has this effect on your skin which kind of softens the skin up. Like you're seeing again on the screen here, taken with the ZV-E10, you can see that my skin is a lot softer. So if I turn off the soft skin, you can see the difference that it makes to the footage, and it's handy, because especially if you've got a little bit of rough skin, sometimes like I do, I've got a bit of reddening on my skin. If I want to just kind of get rid of that, or if I want to soften that out, I just want to kind of look prettier on the camera, then I can just turn on the soft skin mode, and it adds that. And you can kind of also change the strength of the soft skin mode to whatever you want. So there's that. It's an extra feature. Some people use it, others don't, but it's there. Now, another feature that I would say makes this such a great camera for content creation is the microphone. Now, compared to majority of the microphones, you've got a pretty big kind of microphone grill here, and it also comes with this little wind muff which you can just attach to the top here. So you've got a little kind of wind muff microphone right at the top, and honestly the microphone on this is pretty good. Like, let me show you. So what you're hearing now is the audio coming straight out of the Sony ZV-E10 that I've got hooked up right here, and it's coming from the internal microphone, and you can probably hear quite clearly how nice and crisp this sounds. So like I was saying, you've got a very good quality microphone built right into the camera, which is going to give you pretty good quality audio, and you're not going to have to carry around an additional microphone with you no matter where you go. So you saw there, and you could hear there, that the microphone on it is pretty damn good. So that definitely makes a feature worth using, because on the go, you don't want to be carrying around an additional microphone, or if you don't want to carry around something like an additional microphone, it just adds too much bulk. Then having the option of just talking right into the camera and knowing that you're going to get great sounding audio is pretty good. Now, other things that make this camera so good for content creation include things and features like being able to use this as a webcam via its USB-C connection. I've got an entire video on how to do that. You can check that out. There's a link in the description below, so do go check that out if that interests you. You can essentially use it as a streaming webcam anywhere you go just by plugging into a USB, whether you're doing conferences, meetings, or if you're streaming on Twitch or YouTube or whatever it is you're going to be using that for. Just plug in the USB. Yes, given it does give you 720p quality, but that's still fantastic because you're getting an APS-C sensor size camera with 720p. You're barely going to be able to tell the difference in your streams, in your videos, so that's still going to look great, and it's an extremely handy feature to have. And other things, of course, include things like the flippy out screen, which is obviously fully articulating, and the ability to add whatever lens you want to it. Essentially, it's an interchangeable lens camera, which means that any Sony E mount or even FE mount lens will fit on this. So you can get something super nice like this Sigma 16mm f1.4, which is one of my all-time favorite lenses for APS-C cameras. Add it on and you've got what is essentially a fantastic vlogging content creation package, because this combo is an absolute dream. 1.4 of the Sigma 16mm combined with the features that this thing has is an absolute dream to use. And I think for content creators who are starting off for the first time using a camera, this kind of a combo, this kind of a package is really, really good. And it gives you so much versatility, and also the option to learn a camera and how to use a camera for the first time, because you can experiment with all of the features that this thing has, and you can then look to maybe, if you need to, upgrade to something bigger and better once you start earning more from your content creation. So this is definitely even in 2024 right now, I would still recommend this for all of those reasons and more. Just the whole reliability of this camera is just so good. And I've been using it for so long now, I can definitely vouch for it. Now, for those of you who are looking for a little bit more out of a camera and maybe aren't just beginner content creators, it's still a great camera and I would still recommend it, but it does have its limitations. So some of those limitations that I face especially is, for example, it's an 8-bit camera. Now, for those of you who might not know what that means, in simple terms, 8-bit versus 10-bit. 10-bit cameras such as the Sony A7S III that I've got in front of me are just easier to color grade if you're using things like log footage. 10-bit footage is a lot easier to color grade. You can push the color grades a lot better, especially if you're filming in things like S-Log3. Whereas with 8-bit footage, it's a little bit harder to do that. You have to be a lot more careful with the color grading. It doesn't give you as much flexibility. So yes, this challenges me a little bit on that end, but I'm so used to it now that I've got power grade set up in DaVinci Resolve, which is kind of like LUTs, but it's not LUTs, but it's like power grade, meaning there's like a preset set up for color grading. But yeah, I just throw one of those on and that does the color grading for me, so I don't really need to worry about that. It doesn't have things like 4K 120 FPS, but it's got 1080p 120 FPS, which is more than good enough. And it's not full frame, so obviously when I use a full frame lens on this camera, it does have a massive crop factor, but that's why I have something like Sigma 16mm, which basically gets rid of that issue. So basically, if I want a 24mm focal length out of this, adding this 16mm lens will give me that 24mm equivalent. So there's my problem solved, and that's more than good enough for things like vlogging and talking head videos and kind of all sorts of other things. So those might be limitations to me, who is also somebody who's a professional videographer. So I do videography for paid clients, but might not be a limitation for somebody who's starting out new. Those things might not matter at all, because you might not even be using log, you might not even worry about 10-bit footage, and you might not care about adding different lenses onto it, because you might only have the 1 or 2 lenses which you bought specifically for this camera. So that's not going to be an issue. Those aren't deal breakers, they are just things that for me are limitations, might not be for you. Like said that before. So to summarize, fantastic camera, a couple of good features. You've got soft screen mode, you've got background defocus, you've got product showcase mode, you've got flippy outy screen, you've got a fantastic microphone. It's nice, lightweight and portable, and you can use all different types of lenses on it. So all of this together makes this an absolute fantastic package for beginner content creators to use. So for anybody wondering if they should get the Sony ZV-E10 or not as their first camera after upgrading from maybe their smartphone, then yes, definitely I would highly recommend this for all of the reasons that I just mentioned in the video. But for those of you who might be looking to upgrade from maybe the Sony ZV-E10 to something a bit better, then cameras that I would recommend, just as a list off here, I'm not going to go into details, would be the Sony a6700, maybe the FX30 if you have the budget for those two cameras, or even the Sony ZV-E1 if you're looking to go full frame. I would also maybe consider the Sony a7C II, which is a fantastic camera for both photography and video. So those are the 4 cameras in the higher price ranges, or the kind of mid-higher price ranges, that I would recommend as your next step up from the Sony ZV-E10, but that's for a whole different video to go into details about those. So keep an eye, look out for that. So I hope the video was helpful to you guys. I hope it was interesting and it helped you make a decision as to whether to buy this fantastic camera or not. Like I said, I've been using it for quite a while now, and it has been an absolute dream to have as my B cam. If you want to see more videos of the same type, then make sure you hit that subscribe button, and make sure you leave a comment down below if you have any questions whatsoever. I'm always there to answer your questions. So until next time, this is Kai24 signing off.